Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, or Chakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and this year, Apostle Tahar has announced that this is the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And within the first few days, we've already seen a lot of newsworthy incidents occur. First day, we saw that tsunami in Japan. And then there was also an earthquake in New York. There's been, just today, I saw that there was a bombing in Iran near the grave of their general Soleimani, and it killed 95 plus people. I'm sure those numbers are still going up. There was some threats called into some state capitals, so some of those have been shut down. And then we still have the Ukraine war, in which that's heating up. And we also have this Israeli war that's going on as well. And so, as it says, there'll be earthquakes and uproars of the people. And that's one of those markings to the day of the Lord that's coming. And so, I wanted to take a look at Jeremiah 30. And I don't think we're going to go through the whole thing, but let's see how far we can get into it. And so, Jeremiah 30 and verse 1. And right there at the top it says, deliverance from captivity promised. So the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord Yahweh, saying, thus speaketh the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. And bring again is actually going into to turn back. We'll check out the word real quick. And it's Strong's H7725. And I believe that word is shawab. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Assyrian is funny looking to me, in that middle one. Kind of stumped me, but I believe it's shawab. And it says to return, to turn back. And so he's going to take us out of this captivity that we have been in. And it says for Israel and Judah, and that's symbolizing both the northern and the southern kingdom. And that's made up of the Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans, all of Israel, as well as our scattered, because we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth. So we are going to come back looking like all of the other nations. That's the mixed multitude. It says, saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And this is it's going into the Lord's promise for restoration. And so we'll read Deuteronomy 30 and verse 3, that then the Lord Yahweh, thy power, will turn thy captivity and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy power hath scattered thee. And so that's the diaspora, because we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And we broke the law, statutes, and commandments, so we've been under the curses that are spoken of in Deuteronomy 28 from verse 15 on down to 68. But this is the end of this age, and it's the end of our captivity, of these curses being on us. So back to Jeremiah 30 and verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, So both the northern and the southern kingdom. So anyone that's claiming to be the people and are in the land, but there's no other, no northern kingdom, no other tribes besides the one that they claim to be, they've got to be frauds, because the Lord said he's going to bring Israel and Judah out of this captivity. Verse 5 says, "For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace, because the day of the Lord is at hand." And as it says here in Amos 5:18, it says, "Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord! To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light." So this day is going to be a day like no other day. We speak it and try to say as much as we can about it, but we see through a glass darkly, and really it's going to go past all of our imaginations. It's a fearful day that's coming ahead of us. Verse 6 says, "Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned unto paleness." Because even the mighty men of this nation, of the whole world, they're going to be trouble for what's coming. You got nukes coming. You got as the world would call UFOs, you have a UFO invasion. You're going to have the creatures changing places. You're going to have world war going on. You're going to have civil wars going on. All sorts of invading one another. And these women are going to be screaming and getting traded left and right. And the men are going to be afraid too, looking like a pregnant woman. Men don't have babies, but they're going to be acting as if they were. Because as it says in Daniel 12:1, it's a day like no other day, no other time of trouble before it. So you could think of all of the worst times in history, from slavery to all the world wars or past wars where they're getting up close and personal, to any of the terrible times within history. There's been incidents where millions of people have died at once, or different genocides too. And this is going to surpass all of that, because it's the last big time of death, the last war that will exist. And so it's going to be a major one. It says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It's even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." And Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and Israel makes up the 12 tribes from Judah down to Issachar. And that's who will be delivered. That is the salvation that the Christians speak of. And it only pertains to those 12 tribes, to the tribes of Israel. And it says, "For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him." That him being Jacob, the Israelites, and the Lord said they would have a yoke on us. And so Deuteronomy 28:48, "Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee." And we are destroyed We were in a more physical slavery at first, and the Lord's lightened that and put us in, and we're in this mental slavery right now under the Edomites. And we've been under all of the other heathen. Those are those dogs that come and lick our sores. But the Lord is, hopefully, Lord willing, taking us out of it this year. We're bringing this captivity off of us and bringing the prophecies to pass, and so that we could get back to our land. And so that this will also bring the second covenant, or after this, it'll bring the second covenant to where we have the law, statutes, and commandments within our inward parts, and we'll never sin again. We'll never go off again. And so we'll never have these curses put on us again. And also, back to this, it says that I will break his yoke from off thy neck. His yoke, him is speaking to the Edomites, because that's who we have been under in our last captivity. It says, but they shall serve the Lord their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. And if you go into Ezekiel 37, it speaks of the valley of dry bones and the awakening of the Israelites. But towards the end of that chapter, we will be under the throne of David. And that's also something that's not there in the land right now, with these people claiming to be the Lord's people. It says, therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid, because there will be no more war after the Israelites are taken out of this captivity. Isaiah 2 and 4, going into precept for no more war. And it says, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. So turning their weaponry into tools of agriculture and of nation building. And it says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. And so when the Israelites return, the true Israelites, that is what you can look forward to. No more war. Verse 11, Jeremiah 30 and 11. For I am with thee, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. And that didn't happen in 1948. Yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Because the 2/3 are still prophesied to go down, and they will be reincarnated into the kingdom. It says, for thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. And that's going back to those curses that we've been under, and we are absolutely destroyed. If this place was to just keep going on, we would, there's hate between men and women. How would we continue as a people with that? Just that alone. We need the Lord to come and heal us, and he said he's coming with healing in his wings. It says, there is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. There's no ointment for us to get over this. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not. For I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. And all those lovers going into the other nations and into their idols. And that's the whole reason that we're here in the first place, because we're committing spiritual adultery against the Lord and just going off and going off and going off. And he really did wound us with the wound of an enemy. He got us. He says, why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity. Iniquity goes into sin upon sin upon sin. Because thy sins were increased, I have done these things unto thee. And so we have no one to blame except for ourselves. But Tawada Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, because we have a Savior. We'll get out of this eventually, so we have hope. But particularly Esau does not have a Savior, and the Lord's going to put all these curses onto them, and there's not going to be anybody to save them out of it. So they will just have to be Obadiah 1 and 18, because they are going to be destroyed. And that's where 16 is going into. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. And that makes me think of Lamentations 4 and I think 22, towards the end of it. The rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, because everything's going to switch onto them, so they should be happy for the time they had to rule. It makes me think of Amos 9 and 11, of the house of David being raised back up to put the house of Edom into captivity. Also makes me think of Deuteronomy 30 and 7, where it says, and the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And so he's going to turn all these things back around. And really just putting things into the right place, because his intention was to have Israel at the top and ruling over the other nations under the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments under Yahweh Shai. Or us, the Israelites, under Yahweh Shai. And they that spoil thee will be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. And so also, just going back to those small hatters, those 1948ers, where are your slaves? Because you should be returning with slaves if you were the true people, but you're not. You're going into captivity. Verse 17, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. And so, the Lord's going to take us out of this, but we have Jacob's trouble that we have to get through, but just have to remain in the truth, endure unto the end, and the Lord's got everything from there on out, or from here on out. He's always got everything. So, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone, and shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.